All right, here we have a strange story from the Baal Shem Tov. Once there was a couple that came to the Baal Shem Tov and pleaded with him that they should have children. They'd been married for years, 10 years, 15 years. They had no children. And the Baal Shem Tov thought for a while and finally gave them a blessing. He said, I'm blessing you, but on condition you'll have a child, but you have to make sure that he's not even one moment alone. You have to have someone watch him every moment, every moment. So they said, of course, what's the problem? So they gave birth. Sure enough, his wife got pregnant and she gave birth to a beautiful son. And they watched over him all the time. They were always with him. And just to make sure, they had also a woman, a servant that also watched over him. So there were always at least two people watching over him. The servant was tremendously loyal, and they never left the child alone in one moment. When he went to school, there was somebody watching him, two people watching him. Well, one time it happened that his parents had to go out for like 5 minutes, and they left him alone in the house, closed all the windows, of course, and with this woman servant. And she was with the child. They were only going to be gone for like 10 minutes. And suddenly she heard outside what sounded like the approaching of a circus. And she peeked out the window, and sure enough, there was a big circus coming, and there was dancing bears, and there was, music blaring and playing, and clowns were dancing, and so she said this. The lady servant said to herself, "Listen, just for 1 minute, I'll get out of the house for like 5 minutes." She checked all the windows everything was closed. The boy was asleep in his room, and she went out into the front yard, locked the door behind her, run into the front yard just for a couple of minutes, watched and clapped her hands. She danced a little bit, and she went back inside and checked the child. The child wasn't there. The black window was open, and the child had been kidnapped. And she ran around looking for the child. She couldn't find him. And sure enough, the parents came back, and they found the child wasn't there, and they were beside themselves. They didn't know what to do. By this time, the child was like 12 years old, and nevertheless, he had been kidnapped. So they were going crazy. So the father, he got on a wagon and he started traveling on a road and asking people, did they see a boy? Did they see a boy? Did they see a young boy, a young Jewish boy? Everywhere he went, he got a negative answer, until finally he kind of came up to this one inn. The story goes that he was driving on his wagon, and he fell asleep, and he passed by this one inn, suddenly woke up and thought, maybe this inn that I passed could be that he's there. So he went back to the tavern, whatever, and he asked the owner if he had seen a young boy that was being taken, accosted, or accompanied by soldiers with it. And so the owner, the man had already been looking like for a week or something, said, "Oh, you're probably talking about the boy that's going to be converted today." What? Said, "Yeah, the Baron, his men found a Jewish boy, and now they're going to be converting him today." Be a big. This is really the boy is willing. He said, "I don't know anything about the boy. I know that the Baron has been like flowering him with all sorts of amazing gifts, and bringing all sorts of exciting things, letting them ride on horses and things that young kids are really excited about. And today they're going to convert him. There's going to be a big whole ceremony in the Baron's house." Where's the Baron's house? Over there. But listen, you're a religious Jew. He's not going to let you in. It's going to be bad news for you. I wouldn't try to stop it if I was you. I mean, you won't succeed anyway. And if you trespass, you'll get killed. But so he thought, what am I going to do? And so I got to try. So the man went to the palace, and he parked his wagon, a little distance, a few minutes away from the palace, tied it up in the woods or something like that. And he went to the palace and looked through. The door was like a little bit open, one of the big gates. And he saw that sure enough, there's this huge ceremony, this huge, amazing ceremony going on. And there was, hundreds and hundreds of people there, and all the regalia and music and guards and knights and all stuff all around. And there was the bishop sitting there, not the bishop, the Baron sitting in front of everybody. And somebody, the Baron sitting, and there's a little boy, his son was sitting right next to him. So he didn't know what to do. How is he going to get in there? How is he going to get in the son? And the son is being like flowered with all these gifts and all this attention, all this, and that. And the little boys were coming up to him and praising him. And it seems that this baron, didn't have a son of his own. So he took this child, so he would convert him and he would adopt him. It would be a son. And the boy was bright and he was brilliant and he was smart and he was this and that. And I figured, that's it, you'll have him. So the Jew is looking, and one of the guards says, what are you doing, Jew? What are you doing at the gate? He says, I'm just looking. And he says, get out of here. In any moment, the bishop is supposed to be coming and we're going to make the conversion. Well, you got an interest in this. You're not invited here. You've got nothing to do with this. Anyway, he says, look, nothing wrong with looking. Okay, you can look. You can stand there and look if you want to, but don't come in. Sure enough, comes this whacking, huge carriage huge carriage with like 5 or 6 horses, white steed, and they're racing down to this. And the racing, it comes to a stop, and they open up the doors, and the trumpets start blowing, and the baron gets out, everybody bows down. The bishop gets out of the carriage, and everybody bows down. And the bishop goes up to the center, everybody's kissing his hand, and they're all, genuflecting, whatever they do to bishops. And everybody's, the trumpets are blaring, and the drums are rolling, and the bishop gets up and he stands up in the front. He says, yes, today we are here to announce the wonderful conversion of this child who has lived a life of error and darkness, and inducting him into our true religion. Suddenly the bishop looks over the child and he says to the baron, Baron, you're making a mistake. I says, what do you mean? He says, listen, I can look at this child. I know what we're dealing with. He's an ingrate. These Jewish people, they're called the stiff-necked people by the Bible. The Bible calls them stiff-necked. It says these people are unappreciative. After all you've done for this child, he'll leave you in a second. I'm telling you, he'll leave in a second. He'll break your heart. There's no sense of this whole conversion. It's not going to work for him. For a normal person, it would work. They would be happy, pleased. They would have gratitude to be introduced into the religion of truth, but not the Jews. Not the Jews. And you can see on this little boy's face, it's written rebellion on his face, ingratitude in his very bones. So look, I'll give you an example. He said, look, see, there's a Jew standing at the entrance of this. Watch what happens now. He says to the little boy, young boy, you see at the door there is a Jew. The boy lifts up, he says, Tate, Tate, Tate. Now the means father in Yiddish. Now the baron doesn't understand what the kid's yelling at. The child breaks away and he runs over to his father, hugs his father, kisses his father. Says, see, I told you, these children are totally ingrates. You could give him the whole world. He wouldn't appreciate. The first Jew that you see, they all stick together like glue. You can't get rid of them. They're incorrigible. Let the kid go. You'll find another child. Don't worry about it. It's just a waste of time and energy and money. And the child goes away. Meanwhile, the bishop gets in his carriage and he drives off. Meanwhile, the father takes the boy and he puts him in the carriage and he goes back home. As he's going back home, this huge carriage is coming toward him. A huge carriage with like 5, 6 white horses, big carriage. And the driver of the carriage screams out, he sees a Jew sitting in a wagon. Move out of the way, you filthy Jew. The baron is coming. The bishop is coming. The bishop is on his way. The bishop has been delayed, and the bishop will not spare you, delaying him any further. And he gives a big whip with his whip. The Jew almost hits him. And of course, the father moves over to the side, and he can't figure. All of a sudden, and the bishop looks out the window. He says, "You dirty Jew!" And he starts screaming at him. Also, says, "You can all burn in hell, all of you. You get out of my way." And all of a sudden he thinks, 1 second, the second guy, he was the bishop. Who was the first guy? It ends up that the first bishop was Elijah the prophet. And Eliyahu Hanavi came and saved the boy from the clutches of the church. And that was the big miracle that was brought about by the Baal Shem Tov, how he improved and saved a Jewish life. Have a good day with Mashiach now.